Hello, hello, everyone. Janusz Michallik joining me. Massive, massive day in the Premier League today, Janusz. Beautiful sunshiny day here across the UK, but some very, very interesting fixtures today. First of all, I suppose you could call it an upset with Aston Villa getting the better of Newcastle. I'm sure Manchester United fans will be very happy watching that. But we are here to talk about Chelsea, Brighton, and Tottenham, Bournemouth. Two matches that I think blew all our predictions out the window, except for maybe Chelsea, Brighton, because I actually did have Brighton edging Chelsea in this one, and that's exactly what happened. Let's just start off there, Janusz. Brighton, the Seagulls coming up to Stamford Bridge on a beautiful sunshiny day, had to come from behind, but that's exactly what they did after Chelsea took the lead thanks to Conor Gallagher. But in the end, it was all what Brighton did right, and once again, what Chelsea just keep doing wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, it's even worse than that, right? Because we knew that the Chelsea season's over. Well, at least after losing in Madrid 2-0, I don't think anybody expects them to come back. So I jumped the gun just a little bit, but I think it's fair to say that it's over. I think this was a game for a lot of the players. We've seen some changes to make an impact for the rest of the season, because really for Chelsea right now, they're one big hot mess. That's what it is. It's outright embarrassing what we see right now, because you'd like to think that there's going to be massive changes, right? So some of these players are probably already gone in their heads. Some of them want to stay. Some of them want to be part of this rebuild and to play at home. Frank Lampard, his first game in Stamford Bridge, to show such lack of character and fight. And I mean, if you look at Brighton, I mean, they were 10 times better than Chelsea in every department, every aspect of the game. It's kind of almost not funny, isn't it? I'm sorry, Alexis.
Did you almost expect that today, though, given how Brighton have been on a decent run away from home as well? You had Pep Guardiola, who was just coming out this week praising De Zerbi's style of play that he's implemented, and we know the struggles that Chelsea have had as well. Or are you saying that what you saw from Chelsea today kind of was worse than even what you expected?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to be dramatic, but I would dock these players' wages. I really would. I mean, this is a team that's gotten rid of Thomas Tuchel. This is a team that's gotten rid of Graham Potter. And, some of those players got rid of Frank Lampard because there's still a few 7 or 8 remaining. And they're making sure that Frank Lampard won't be a part of it. And we know that. We know he's an interim. But I suppose if Chelsea were playing well, get a better result against Real Madrid, say they've won this game, I think there'd be some that may be thinking maybe Frank is the right man. So 3 managers, they're gone. No respect whatsoever. I mean, look, Moises Caicedo today in the center of the pitch took care of that midfield all by himself, not to mention some of the young players. You look at Julio Enciso, came in, had a chance immediately, then hit the post where I think Danny Welbeck missed a sitter from 6 or 7 yards, scores a world-class goal. I'm talking about Enciso. What about Welbeck? Comes on and scores within 3 minutes. What about Chelsea? Makes 4 substitutions, right? At the same time, 4 substitutions. These 4 players come in and make 0 impact. And I just mentioned 2 that Brighton had coming in that made an impact. Not to mention that they lost 2 players to injury in the first 30 minutes of the game. So that's unacceptable. I mean, Brighton is what Chelsea wants to be, and they're nowhere near that.
Yeah, massively. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the stats that we've put out even now on ESPN UK on social media, and it's just showing how Chelsea have spent 323 million since Todd Boehly came in the January transfer window, and they're currently 10 points behind Brighton, 14 behind Spurs, 17 points behind Man United, and the big one, 34 points behind their London rivals of Arsenal now. And Janusz, with the performance you saw today, I suppose picking apart a couple of the players, as we knew that they did reinforce them. Money has never really been an issue at Chelsea. So is it the chopping and changing of styles and managers that's not getting the best out of these players, or are they just not good enough right now?
Well, the changes are the reason, but as I've said, I think, I've mentioned this is going to be the most important off seasons in I don't want to say in Chelsea's history, but maybe. I mean, when you think about with all the players that they've bought, with all the changes in terms of manager, and it hasn't worked, not even close, right? I mean, at no point could we say that Chelsea played good football this season. At least I can't remember, not often enough. Now you look at this offseason and you look at all the players and all the money you've spent, and you've got to ask yourself a question. How long is it going to take for some of the young players to come good? Has Chelsea ever been about that? Which the answer to that is no. Obviously, there's an ego with the new ownership. I'm not talking just Todd Bowley, but Bektat Ekbali. Those two gentlemen have to make the right and critical decisions in the off season, and that goes. I mean, there's no room for error, because that goes with quality, experience, and certain character of players that they need to bring in. And the bigger questions will be, can they do that? And when it comes to financial fair play, can they afford to do that? How many players are going to offload? I mean, for those players that had hope of staying, today was the answer, because there isn't one player that showed themselves well. Maybe Conor Gallagher, and maybe I'm saying that because if he scored that goal, big deflection, although he had a couple of chances. We know Gallagher with his work rate and all that. Other than that, you couldn't point to one player that looked the part. I mean, this is Chelsea Football Club. I mean, we're talking about top six. We're talking about a team that wins Champions League. I mean, it really is unacceptable. We've been saying that, but this is low of lows, if you can imagine, because they were outplayed at home by Brighton every which way possible.
Now, we are definitely going to speak about Brighton and everything they've done right, because they have been so impressive since De Zerbi came in this season, and they are the winners today. But as Janusz just said, this almost feels like a new low for Chelsea, looking at them there in the table in 11th. The likes of Fulham, Brentford. I know you like to see Liverpool there as well, getting in the mix ahead of them. And Brighton actually closer to the top six than any of those clubs that I've just mentioned. This is weird territory for Chelsea now. Janusz, low on confidence. Stamford Bridge is not feeling like the fortress that it has been, and now they have to get ready to welcome Real Madrid there, who we know Real Madrid have their issues as well, but if it's one thing they know how to do is to show up in the Champions League. The Champions League is the saving grace, the Hail Mary, the last straw for Chelsea right now. Mentally, what can they do to get ready for this, and what realistically should they be aiming for now, or where do you see them finishing? Because after everything you've just said, realistically, can they aim for the Champions League?
No, it's impossible. Look, I mean, I don't like to say that, because we all know that there are days that that you can't explain sometimes, and results for teams. But that's impossible, because now not only this game, but you look at Frank Lampard, who came in, and now he can comfortably say, even though he hasn't been there all that long, that he's made zero impact with this team. I mean, obviously these players, are not playing for him as well. If the idea was to bring somebody that's a serial winner, that knows this club inside out, even though he's been there before, to calm the waters, if you will, just a little bit after the sacking of Graham Potter, it hasn't worked. We saw that in previous games already. And today at Stamford Bridge, to have this sort of a performance, I mean, this is not just a bet game. This is a horrific game, as I've mentioned too many times. So, for us to think that somehow overnight, this team is going to turn around and beat Real Madrid and go through Champions League, it's irresponsible.
Yeah, so back to the drawing board, I suppose, for Chelsea. The Blues definitely have a lot to think about as we approach the end of the season. But let's show Brighton some love, shall we? Because they really have been impressive. And we got to hang out with them this week. Janusz got to speak to Alexis McAllister.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite good. We're getting ready to speak to De Zerbi. De Zerbi, the big name, the name that has changed things at Brighton. Those interviews will be coming out next week on ESPN, so look out for them. But, one of the things that they told us is how he's brought in this ruthless nature, that if you're going to have the ball and boss possession, you better do something with it. Did you see that today in Brighton's performance against Chelsea?
Yeah, and later, just since you were talking to them, is Moises Caicedo or McAllister going to Liverpool? But no, let's talk about that game, because you've got all the rumors. I know so you should spill it out if you do. This is what this is all about, right? People want to know. Look, I mean, the Derby, we saw that streak of that ruthlessness, right? With Christian Stellini, when they lost very late against Spurs. He wasn't happy before the game, during the game, and after the game. You can understand after the game when your team loses, right? When you feel you shouldn't. But obviously, his countrymen probably read some, some of his quotes before the game, maybe some of his quotes in Italian press as well. But I mean, he's a competitor. He's a winner. Something that we didn't see in Chelsea, we didn't see in Frank Lampard, we didn't see in Graham Potter in terms of that competitiveness. Even though he comes from the same team, and I think even De Zerbi would agree that he's laid a certain foundation for this team, right? And that's true. Maybe that's what Stellini was saying, really, and it got misunderstood. So that foundation of good football was laid by Graham Potter. But I think you're right. I think the ruthlessness that we didn't see under Potter. Remember, we were talking about Brighton's inability to finish, to score goals, the lack of number 9. You look at this and you look at the efficiency with which they score. And I think more direct way of playing, not much different in terms of quality of their football and ball movement, but I think you see it just movement with and without the ball in particular. It's a little bit quicker. I don't think they waste touches on the ball. It's more the one-touch football as well, and very quick in front of goal. So when you put that together, and you look at somebody like Mitoma, of whom we didn't really speak at all, last season at all anywhere, right? And still, you could say not really a true number 9, although it's different with the young Evan Ferguson. Who played well. Too bad he got injured. Hopefully it's not for long, but hitting the crossbar as well today, and Solly March. How happy is everyone with him, right? I mean, if you're neutral, just think about it. I mean, he was outstanding on a long-term injury. We kind of forgot about him, and he's just been playing lights out as well. Out to Pascal Gross. I mean, he's a soldier, one of those players that I think every team would like to have. You've mentioned McAllister, World Cup winner, that's showing and growing. I mean, one of those Argentines that not only had a great World Cup, but now is kind of, he's built his confidence afterwards as well. And as I've said, Moises Caicedo, unplayable today all by himself.
Yeah, well, like I said, things going very well for Brighton. We'll be hearing from the likes of Alexis McAllister and Mitoma on ESPN coming up next week. So guys, look out for that as well. Brighton in 7th, flirting with Europa League spots. They did say that is their goal this season. And I think if they continue in this vein of form, a lot of people will expect them to get it, Janusz.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.